Welcome to Inner Peace, Better Health, where we explore how creativity and mindfulness come together to heal and transform. I'm your host, Eric, and today I'm thrilled to have the multi talented Ronika Merl with us. Award winning screenwriter, director, poet, and the artistic director of the Wicklow Stories Film Festival. Ronika's journey is as wild as it is inspiring. From surviving human trafficking to empowering others through art and activism. Welcome, Ronika, and we are really honored to have you here. It's a pleasure to have you on our show.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me on. It's such an honor to be here. So excited.
Yeah. So, Ronika, how did you first discover that art could be a form of therapy for you?
I think what's the moment when I really realized that without art, my healing journey and my mental health kind of
Mhm.
betterment would not have been possible. Was when I was living in Innsbruck. I was living under quite dire circumstances. I had been trafficked there. I had been brought there. More or less against my will. And I was living in really horrendous circumstances. But I always I always told myself these little stories because those stories were the only thing that kind of seemed real.
Yeah.
And I very distinctly remember writing a story, a children's story,
Wow.
called The Monster Called Loneliness. Where I tried to explain to myself really what loneliness is and what it feels like. And it felt like this big monster that was just wandering the world, coming into contact with all these creatures and all these animals and all these other people, but always feeling like they were completely alone. And when I had written that story, I kind of sat back and I realized, oh, this is about me. This is about my own personal, grief and loneliness that I was feeling. So
Yeah.
from very early on, I kind of realized that storytelling would be the thing that kept me sane, and that was how I could explain the world to myself.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. I mean, speaking of storytelling, I am such a huge fan of storytelling, Ronika, because like I absolutely love telling stories to other people.
Mm,
I
yeah.
absolutely love. I have recently gotten interested in filmmaking and
Mm,
screenwriting and directing, and I also made my first documentary sort of like a vlog sort of a
mhm,
documentary. I don't know if it
mhm,
makes sense. And
mhm,
I made it on my college, and
mhm,
I made it for someone. It was a freelancer project, so I made it
mhm.
for someone. So I wrote the script, I did the screenplay, I was the main character of that story.
Oh,
I, I of course I edited it, and I actually told my own story in that video.
yeah,
And when I did not really, like, just like you told me that when you were writing that story, you realized it later
yeah,
that it was your story. The
mhm,
characters were like parts of you. So
yeah, 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 yeah.
I really believe the art that you create is nothing but a part of you.
Oh,
That's why
100%. Yeah,
that's why,
yeah.
like, if that's why, for me, I still am going through that fear. I'm so afraid of putting out my art out there
Mhm. Yeah.
because I feel that it's a part of me that I'm putting on display, and any criticism, even if it's constructive criticism, that would come on that sort of art would feel like a personal attack on me. So I really
Yes.
believe that putting art out there is like putting yourself on display because art is something that is a part of you.
I 100% agree. I 100% agree. And like you said, it makes you feel so vulnerable, but that's exactly when you start feeling vulnerable about something, or when you start feeling like, oh, this hurts, or this is a struggle, then you're going in the exact right direction, because that's exactly the thing that you should be putting out there. If you felt nothing about this project that you worked on, if you felt, if you didn't have any emotions connected to it, then
Yeah.
that would be wrong. Like that wouldn't be a worthwhile project anyway. So that's really amazing. That's so cool that you're doing that. So yeah, amazing. Keep going with that because yeah, putting yourself out there is really, really hard. But I think it's the only way we can grow really. And it's
Yeah.
very powerful.
Yeah. And like I also believe that it healed
Mm-hmm.
some of my parts because I just felt once it was out there and I started to get positive responses, I just
Mm-hmm.
felt good. You know, those
Yeah,
positive responses literally fueled it was they were like a water to a plant. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
So it
yeah,
just made sense, and I did not even realize they were healing so many parts of me. So
yeah.
that's the next question that I have. Do you think art can heal in a way that traditional therapy cannot? Which I already have answered, but I would love your opinion on that.
Yes, I think yes, 100%. I think in combination, the two are the most powerful. I think if you have therapy, and then you supplement it with art, or if you work through everything that you're going through with an artistic expression, it can help to then to talk to someone. But just on its own, even with completely without therapy. Look, it's the thing that makes you human. It the thing that differentiates us from every other animal that lives on this planet is that we create art, is that we tell each other stories. And I firmly believe we didn't become human until we started doing that. So sometime, a few tens of thousands, 100,000 years ago, depending on where you want to start humanity, some hominin somewhere stood up and started telling a story, and that's when humanity started. One of us stood up by the fire and started dancing. One of us went into a cave and took up some clay and drew something on the wall, and that's when humanity began. So it is so intrinsically linked to what we are as a species. If you kind of want to look at it as a really kind of scientific, from a scientific anthropological background, the definition of humanity is that we express ourselves with art. So just on this completely core basis, we are not human if we do not create art. And people always underestimate just how much art they have in their lives. Every time you turn the TV on, that's art. Every time you listen to the radio, that's artists. Every time you look at a billboard, that was an artist. Everything. There's nothing in your life that has not been shaped and created and tailored to you by artists. Every story you've ever heard, whether it was a TV show or a Coca-Cola commercial, has is a story that we tell ourselves. Every religion, every tradition, every ritual that we've ever created for ourselves is just a story packaged in a different way. So how then do we turn that into therapy? How then do we turn something that it seems so mundane and so completely everywhere? How do we turn that into therapy? By experiencing it, by actually consciously experiencing it, by looking at everything like an artist does. An artist, so visual arts is the easiest thing. A painter is kind of the easiest example because it's the most kind of visceral. So a painter looks at every shape and every color, and they see exactly the true form of that shape. So a painter will look at an apple and see all the different layers of the outside of the apple and how the light reflects each layer. So when we look at life that way, and to really, really see everything and to experience everything consciously, that can give us a sense of fulfillment. That can give us a sense of a more deep understanding of the world, because the world's a scary place. Like, it's a scary, scary place out there. It's confusing, and we don't understand what's going on half the time. We don't understand these ginormous, huge, big systems that we are brought into. Our brains still function. You know, when we talk about that Stone Age person that's dancing around the fire, that's our brain. That's our brain is still at that level, but we're supposed to understand supply chains for how banana gets from South Africa or South America to, I don't know, Singapore. That's what we're supposed to understand, or how cryptocurrency works. Like, nobody is supposed to understand that. So consciously experiencing the world as an artist would can be a great therapeutic approach to fulfillment and bringing a purpose back into your life.
Yeah, Ronika, it's really interesting to me how I never thought about all this. But like I totally agree with, and this is something that is off script, and I really want to ask you this. Um,
Mm-hmm.
how would you say that like if a person says that they sing, then
Mm-hmm.
it's a very generic form of an art. Like
Yeah.
it's definitely an art.
Yes.
However, you mentioned that observing a billboard is also an art.
Yeah.
So can you elaborate on that? Like how?
I mean, yes.
Uh,
So experiencing the world consciously, and retelling or experiencing the stories that the world has to offer, is an artistic expression in and of itself. So
Yeah.
what I mean by that is that when we don't just let everything just kind of flow by us, but instead when we actively take part in our own lives, when we actively switch our brains on, when we actually experience and allow ourselves to think about the things that surround us and
Yeah.
interpret them, not just accept them for what they are, but interpret them and try to layer them into the story that is our lives. That can help. That can help bring. Well, most of us have a lot of anxious kind of energy. Most of us are running around and don't really have, like, most of us are rushing and we're stressed, right? So the best way to alleviate that stress is to stop and look and to experience mindfully, to experience your surroundings. And that can be as simple as just stopping to experience a billboard or a conversation.
Yeah.
That's what I mean, kind of that you're conscious about what you're experiencing.
So by that, do you mean coming up with our own interpretations
Yes.
of the
Yeah.
world?
Yeah, and allowing yourself to see good things, allowing yourself to see beauty, allowing yourself to see that there's tremendous elegance in the way, I don't know, the way a raindrop falls off the window, or there's tremendous beauty in a stranger's face, when we not only experience these things, but give them a positive glow, or allow them to be not just positive, but even just neutral. Allow them to just exist for the sake of their own existence. That can be a tremendously healing thing. Because all of a sudden you're not looking for danger. You're not looking for stress. You're not looking for the next horrible thing that's going to go wrong in your life. You're looking at a stranger's face, and they have a really, really nice smile. And all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, what a beautiful side of humanity that is. And just to be able to see not the beauty in everything, but the truth in everything, the simpleness in everything. I think that can be really powerful. And that's how artists tend to see the world.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. It's amazing because as an artist myself, I believe there's no one who is made an artist, but I believe everyone is born as an artist. So do
Yeah.
you agree with that?
I do. I do. Like kind of going back to what we were saying earlier. You're if you're human, if you're human, you're automatically your ancestors from before we were even human, every single human being that has ever been born has been born in a lineage that expressed themselves through art. We would not have developed language if we didn't need to tell each other stories. We would not have developed writing if we didn't put tiny little pictures together to tell a story. That's how writing first started. It was expressions of pictures of stories that we
Definitely.
needed to tell ourselves, right? So we wouldn't be human. So if you're human, and I dare say most of your listeners are,
Of course they are.
chances
Or we
are,
never
I mean,
know.
there's a few aliens in there probably, but who knows? But even aliens, like um, you're an artist. It is a natural consequence of your existence. And you don't really have a choice in the matter because, because you live and breathe art and stories and music.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree with that.
Amazing, amazing. Well, thank you, Ronika, for sharing your incredible journey. For all of you listening, I hope today's episode inspired you, and I hope it inspires you to use creativity and mindfulness to heal and grow. Remember, healing starts with a single step, so take it. I'll see you next time on Inner Peace and Better Health.